I go to work like a doctor. When I rock the mic, you got.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to LidLine Sports. I am Granville, Emerson, along with my co-host, Renault, Pepe, Bean, and little old Otis Stevenson. What's up, gentlemen?
Hey.
What up, what up?
The Super Bowl is set for 2021. Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be at home facing the Kansas City Chiefs, defending champions, at Ray J Stadium. I hear that they actually took up what we had discussed last week about having frontline workers that had already been vaccinated be in attendance for free. Right. So they are going to allow, I understand, 7,500 of them, give them free tickets to the Super Bowl. So applaud the NFL for that. They could have did 20,000, but some is better than none, as the old folks used to say down south. I want to get right into this. What's the Green Bay Packers quarterback? Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I want to get right into that situation. Pep,
yes, sir.
I know you're covering some things in NFL Pep Talk on the Green Bay Packers, but I want to talk about specifically, we understand if you all been like on an island somewhere and did not know, Green Bay lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-26 in Green Bay, where the percentages will tell you that if you have the home field advantage throughout the playoffs, you only have 2 games to get to the Super Bowl, and you usually get there. But this year's consensus MVP, Aaron Rodgers, is now only 1 for 4 or 1 for 5. 1 win in 5 tries and going to the Super Bowl. Right. Losing NFC championship games. Pep, what's his issue?
You know, that's a good question. This game was the first time he was able to play at home. So, everybody thought that we'll see the vintage Aaron Rodgers. I mean, if you look at his stats, he was 33 of 48, 346, 3 TDs, 1 pick. You look at that and you're like, whoa, that's pretty good. That seems more as Aaron Rodgers like. However, if you look at the game deeper, he was not Aaron Rodgers like. Why? Well, because they were missing David Bakhtiari on the left side of the offensive line. So that coincides to him having to run around a little bit, a la Russell Wilson. He was pressured like 22 times. He was sacked 5 times, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So he was not comfortable back there. And so, the Packers started off, giving up a touchdown right off the bat. So, that was very un-Lambeau-like for them to fall behind early. And, they only took, they were in the game. They tied the game. But other than that, Tampa was pretty much wire to wire. Brady was not really Brady, except in the first quarter, But, if you look at his stats, he was 20 for 36, 280, 3 TDs, and 3 picks. But the thing about it is Green Bay never capitalized on those 3 picks. And the worst thing probably that happened, other than the 4th down that we'll probably get into later, in the first half when the Packers were on the move and Aaron Rodgers threw that first and only pick, but that made it a point where they were on the move and probably looking to score a touchdown. So instead of being up 17-14 at the half, what happens? Patriots get the turnover, go down and and Scotty Miller gets behind Trey Flowers. I'm sorry, Kevin King. I got those two mixed up. They sure looked alike on the field last night. But anyway, Scotty Miller got behind Kevin King, got that touchdown, and then instead of 17-14, the Packers are down 21-10. And you fall behind Tom Brady, you're going to be in trouble most of the game.
Yeah, Brady did try to help them. I felt like the numbers that Rodgers put up, yeah, they look like good numbers, but they didn't happen when he needed them to happen.
Right.
They're inside. Number one, they are the most proficient offense in the red zone in the league. And they got in the red zone a few times and came away with field goals.
Right.
So I thought that had a lot to do with it. And then he only threw one interception, but it was a key interception that led to points at the end of the half. Right? And so mistakes. They made mistakes. The whole team made mistakes. The coach made mistakes. The players made mistakes. He made a critical mistake. It's interesting, a lot of people think that it's just, easy to go to the Super Bowl. And we talked about this in the group, the LidLine Sports group on Facebook. And I posted, like, people think it's easy to go Super Bowl. And you said, yeah, unless your name is Tom Brady. Well, Brady has been to the Super Bowl 10 out of 19 seasons. And one of those seasons he was hurt. So basically, he's only not gone to the Super Bowl 8 times in his whole career, not being injured. And then Rodgers, he can't get out of the championship round. And so, although he's having an MVP type season. And so now he talked about in his post-game presser last night, he doesn't know what the future holds for him. And I don't know if Daniel, do you have a soundbite of that press conference? Let's hear that, and let's see what he's saying.
The finality of it all kind of hits you like a ton of bricks. That's why it's a gutting feeling in your stomach. But I do appreciate you all and the job that you've done this year. I appreciate our interactions. Appreciate the opportunity to share every week, and I'll always be thankful for this season.
All right. Well, I think earlier in the press conference, I remember him saying that he didn't know what the future held for him. You could see he was despondent, actually thanking people, which seems to me like, when you do things like that, you're on the way out.
There's always change. That's the only constant in this business. It's really tough to get to this point. Really, really tough. Especially with it only being one bye week in the playoffs. It's a grind just to get to this point. And that makes the finality of it all kind of hit you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. So,
all right. So, hearing that,
go ahead.
Hearing that, it leads me back to April. Okay, if you remember the draft, the Green Bay Packers selected Jordan Love with the 26th pick in the first round. Ever since then, Aaron Rodgers has been angry. And he took it out on the regular season by putting up MVP numbers. Okay, so now that they get beat, he's still feeling that hurt because they picked his replacement. Now he was in the middle of a contract extension that he signed in 2018, $137 million, and it runs through 2023. Okay, so now we're at 2020, going into 2021. And now he's saying he doesn't know what his future holds because he's giving you red flags from what the management did to him last April. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I understand that he has control of his contract, that he can get out of it if he wants to get out of it.
Right.
And so there's nothing that Green Bay can't keep him in Green Bay if he doesn't want to stay in Green Bay.
Absolutely not.
And so the rumors is that he's going to end up in San Francisco.
Right.
Hometown?
Would say, oh?
Is that hometown?
Yes.
Yeah, he's from that area. He played at Butte Junior College. My nephew played with him at Butte. Jimmy Hill, Hazen's finest, played with him at Butte Junior College. So that's how I know he went to Butte before he went to the University of California.
Mm-hmm.
And so, going back home and playing with the 49ers. And so that doesn't
right.
bode well.
Which is the team he wanted to be drafted by.
Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead, O.
Yeah, he was upset that they took Smith over him.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna mention he also. It seems like the tiff is between him and management because he also mentioned in that interview that it wasn't uncertainty just for him. He's saying there's a lot of core players that there's uncertainty if they'll be back in Green Bay. So it seems like the direction and where Green Bay's trying to go, and from there, you're right. I'm not really there yet to say if this is his last year in Green Bay, but it's definitely looking a little rocky right now. Just like you said, Pepe, it went back in April when they drafted a quarterback with the first round pick. So it's going to be interesting over these next 3-4 months what turns out over there.
You know what I see?
Go ahead.
You know what I see? I see him looking at Tom Brady. Now, I'll say this, all right, before I get any hate mail. I've been already had my wrist slapped this week already when we were talking about Dwayne Haskins. So I'm going to say this. He's looking at Tom Brady, and Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. You cannot take that away from him based on the statistics and his record. He is the greatest of all time. Did y'all hear me say that? Did I say he was the greatest of all time?
Yep.
Okay.
You
Good.
don't hear no argument here.
Good. Okay.
No.
Now, let me say this. Last week and this week, he has not played like the greatest of all times. Of all time.
Right.
Yesterday, he played the first half like the GOAT, like I posted, and the second half like Jameis Winston.
Right.
and so he's looking at Tom Brady and recognizing that Tom Brady left the New England Patriots for greener pastures to a spot where he had a really good defense. And Todd Bowles has those dudes balling.
Yes.
Right? And he also knows what that has done for Tom Brady, where all the weight of winning a game is not on Tom Brady's shoulders. Okay? So if the key players that he mentioned at Green Bay are going to leave, because he's setting the groundwork, you don't know what our team will be like next year. Change happens.
Yep.
He's going to be and wants to be, in my mind, part of that change and leave Green Bay for greener pastures. You don't have to deal with the elements in San Francisco, all that snow and cold weather in Green Bay.
Right.
He gets a new start in a new center with a really good team that
Really
only
good
needs
defense.
a good quarterback.
And good running.
Yep.
They got a good running backs. They got good receivers. They only need a quarterback for real.
Yeah.
That's it.
Solid defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens with them now that their D coordinator has gone to the JETS, Jets.
Right.
Because I believe part of his success at San Francisco was his ability to relate to players and his energy on the sidelines. What's that guy's name, Pep?
Robert Saleh.
Robert Saleh. Yeah. And so we'll see what happens with San Francisco and how they replace him, much like after the Super Bowl when the Seahawks coordinator Gus Bradley left and our defense changed.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I believe that he recognizes what going to Tampa Bay meant for Tom Brady. And Tom Brady beat him, and he's in a Super Bowl throwing 3 interceptions in the second half on 3 straight possessions.
Yep. Yeah,
And
that's
so,
got to be frustrating. You know, Aaron Rodgers basically maybe has run his course in Green Bay. He's done everything he could do, and he just can't get any further than he has. And you know, what's the point in coming back next year at that place where you don't know who's going to be there, and you certainly don't feel that you're going to be the favorite like you have been. So why stay? So I think it would probably be in his best interest now, if he's going to move, now would be the time to move, because 37. So he's still got a few good years. And if he goes to a team like San Francisco, he could be in the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah. That's very possible. That's very possible. All right. We'll go back to the NFL a little bit later in NFL Pep Talk. Just off the top right now, we've got to talk about the blockbuster trade because it happened while we were celebrating Dr. King. And now James Harden did what I told you he was going to do, force his way out of Houston. And I did say he would be in where?
Yeah,
Brooklyn.
Yeah. Oh, talk to us about that.
I was actually really shocked that he got to Brooklyn. I thought the momentum was starting to pick up with him getting to Philly. And let's take a step back even before that had happened. So the Houston Rockets had played the LA Lakers. I forgot the exact day, but they got embarrassed and blown out. And that's when James Harden went into a press conference, and it just seemed like he was tired of the tit for tat between general manager and agent, and took everything in his own hands and publicly finally said that he did not feel like this team was good enough. And I will say I think he worded it wrong when he initially said it, but I think he was trying to say that this team was not good enough to compete for a championship when he initially went up for this press conference. But he didn't say that at first. He said this team's just not very good. And he said that the situation has been crazy, and pretty much said that he wanted out and wanted to be in a better situation. And from that moment on, the rumors was flying left and right. I woke up and Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN was tweeting that Philly and Brooklyn has started to pick back up trade offers. And then we were hearing that Ben Simmons was finally offered for Philadelphia. And then out of the blue, we seen that Brooklyn got done, and they kind of did what they did in 2010, and they traded the house. They traded Jared Allen. They traded your boy Pepe, and they traded about all the draft picks they have for the rest of the decade. So they got their man. And then surprisingly, Houston traded Karis LeVert and flipped him for Victor Oladipo. And I was really shocked about that. And then I guess the blessing in disguise for Karis LeVert, we find out that he has a small mass in his kidney. They're saying that hopefully it's something that he'll be able to return this year. And Victor Oladipo is on a 1-year deal pretty much in Houston. And it sounds like he wants to go and be a free agent. So that's why I'm confused on why they traded Karis LeVert, who is locked into a contract. But back to the main gist of the trade is Brooklyn got who they wanted, and James Harden got to go where he wanted to go, and that was the team back up with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving sounded like he had a change of heart and wanted to play basketball again after that. And he came back from his hiatus about one game after James and KD played together. The first game, James and KD played together, and they won. Both looked really good together. Second game, they looked even better without Kyrie Irving because they beat the Milwaukee Bucks. And there was a lot of fluidity, honestly, between those two. They looked like they played together. And then entered in Kyrie Irving after his hiatus and being out for COVID. And they run into his old team in the Cleveland Cavaliers. And, I'm pretty sure we all thought that it was going to be a cakewalk. You maybe see some bumps here and there because they're still all learning to gel with each other. And not only did they lose once, they lose twice to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the second time, they got blown out. And, you start to see the finger pointing from all of us, all of the analytics or the analyzers and everybody who's outside watching, and they were saying, trade Kyrie, you go get pieces, or bring Kyrie off the bench. Maybe he doesn't fit. And then they go and they play Miami Heat, and they finally get a win. And then
they were up 20, and the Heat came back and only lost by 3 to 5 points, I think. Yep.
And then flip today. It was a close game today all throughout the game, and then they blew it open by dang near 20 points in the fourth quarter. So James Harden's here. He's playing with the Brooklyn Nets. Just like I keep telling people, in my opinion, and I'm not saying it's wrong or right of Kyrie, Kyrie is going to play his game. He doesn't know how to play any other way.
Exactly.
Kevin Durant is going to be this leader. He's going to be the guy who should have the ball in his hands. And which I'm not surprised, but I think we will see James Harden be more aggressive, but he's taking more of a playmaking role right now. And the game I watched today, they looked so much better in the fourth quarter when James Harden had the ball in his hands and he was able to create. Kevin Durant didn't shoot that well today. Neither did Kyrie. But that was the best I think they've looked in every game they played. Like the fourth quarter they played today was the best. They are 3-2. I want to say that they are 3-3 altogether now, or 4-3 now. What's your guys' thoughts so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to take some time to gel, just like any other trade. It's just going to take some time to gel. I don't care how good you are. That's just the way it goes. My question is, what do you think about the rumored trade between the Brooklyn Nets and Cleveland now, with Brooklyn looking to pick up Kevin Love and JaVale McGee? Have you heard anything about that? Oh,
I've heard that if JaVale McGee is bought out, or they could be possibly looking to trade for him. I have not heard Kevin Love yet. That'd be very interesting to see how that would work out. But they, if there's one thing that they need watching these guys play, they cannot defensively hold down the paint at all. Andre Drummond looked like Shaq and Wilt Chamberlain mixed together playing against Brooklyn those last two games. Even Jared Allen got in there and made it difficult. And on top of that, they not Karis LeVert, but oh man, I can't think of the point guard's name for Colin Sexton was getting in the paint at will, and they can't even stop people from getting into the paint. And I like DeAndre Jordan. He is not in his prime anymore. So right now, that's an Achilles heel for them, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, they got to show up that defense so they can just forget it.
Well, you have a bunch of guys that don't play defense.
Hey, sure.
They have nothing to work with. Sure enough, they traded their best defensive guard, and so and they're big and Allen. So I don't see it. They gotta prove it to me, and I just want to see them play Houston. I can't wait for that game. And Boogie Cousins said that I didn't come here to Houston to play with James Harden anyway. I came to play with John Wall.
Mm-hmm.
So, Harden. I saw that interview. I watched that game against the Lakers. They got blown out, and after the game, Harden was in the presser, just throwing the whole squad under the bus, like what he said there. The way he said it, there was no way he could go back and play with those dudes again.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Exactly.
he had to go. Like he threw the whole team
Right.
under the bus. These dudes ain't good enough to play with me. Like, and then how I love Houston. I love you all. You've been great for me, but you know y'all got me out there with these suckers right now. I got to go somewhere else.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what he did. And even like going back to that press conference and like John Wall, I commend John Wall for the words that he said and sticking up for his guys.
Yeah.
And maybe he may halfway be wrong. I mean, I don't know. I don't think this Houston team is going to be that good. But like I said, I mean, just as a leader, though, you compete night in and night out regardless of who's on the court. And you just don't say that about your teammates. And I think the rumor was regardless, if they didn't get a trade done that day, I think they were sending James Harden home anyway for practice because that would have got ugly.
Yeah. I actually think Harden lit a fire in Houston.
Yeah, for sure. Because even without John Wall, I think just came back later this last week. They looked all right with what they had on the court. And these last two games with Christian Woods being out, DeMarcus Cousins has finally been getting some quality minutes, and he looked dang good last game. And I think the game before that, he got like 17 rebounds, didn't shoot the ball well. But, these guys are playing with a little bit of fire for sure.
And I love Oladipo, and I think he needed to get out of Indiana because he just did not fit there. They weren't playing him right.
And remember, there was a rumor too that he wanted to be traded in the offseason. So that was pretty.
Yeah.
I was interesting to see that he got moved.
I think
I was expecting it to be moved, so that was no surprise to me. And the fact that he went down to Houston, now he can actually be who he wants to be or who he is. And I think him and John Wall and Christian Wood and Boogie Cousins, man, listen, that's a nice little lineup there. And if they could stay healthy, they could make a little bit of noise.
I think that John Wall and Victor Oladipo make a formidable backcourt.
Yes.
That's a formidable backcourt that has to be reckoned with. And if Boogie stays healthy, like you said, they've got three good pieces. And so we'll see. They're blowing out the Mavericks right now, 70-61. Oh,
again.
This was yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they blew them out yesterday. So yeah.
Back to Brooklyn. Defense in Brooklyn. I don't see them in the playoffs where you got to play defense, being able to stop anybody. I haven't seen a team that outscores people and win since that 1 year the Golden State Warriors did it. But other teams, you got to play D, and so you got Harden running the PG spot, and then when Kyrie get the ball, he just want to shoot it, and then they have nobody to guard the other team's best player. If you saw the game when they lost in double overtime to Cleveland, they had Durant on Colin Sexton, and he had 4 threes on him.
Bam gave him 40.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I love Bam, but he has no reason to be having 40 points on any basketball team.
True. Anyway, we're going to get ready to go to break. When we come back from break, we'll have NFL Pep Talk with Pep, and then more NBA basketball with Little O before we get out of here. All right, don't go away. We'll be right back right after these words on LidLine Sports.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Don't forget to log on www.rainieravenue.world.
This is the news on Rainier Avenue Radio. The San Francisco 49ers said goodbye to 2 of their top assistants, but are keeping 2 more with a couple of in-house promotions that had been in the works for a while. Per ESPN, with 4 defensive coordinator Robert Saleh and passing game coordinator Mike LaFleur headed to the New York Jets as head coach and offensive coordinator, respectively, the Niners elevated inside linebackers coach DeMeco Ryans and to replace Saleh as defensive coordinator, with run game coordinator Mike McDaniel taking over LaFleur's duties in a consolidated position as offensive coordinator. Both moves have been exposed since Saleh was announced as Jets head coach. In fact, 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan hinted strongly that Ryans was his first choice for the job at his season wrap-up news conference on January 4th. For now, Ryans is a defensive coordinator, representing a quick rise through the ranks after a successful 10-year NFL career as a linebacker for the Houston Texans and Philadelphia Eagles. And that's your news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
This is Big Poppy, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, all jazz in all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
If you're an older adult or someone of any age with underlying medical conditions, you're at a higher risk for severe illness from COVID-19. Look, the good news is there are steps you can take to protect yourself and loved ones. Wash your hands often. Stay home unless you need food, medicine, or medical care. If you need to go out, stay at least 6 feet away. Avoid people who are sick and make a plan. Identify and talk with someone who can help care for you if you get sick. Have supplies like medicine and groceries on hand, or find ways to have them brought to you. And remember, wear a cloth face covering when around others. For more information, call Seattle King County Public Health at 206-477-3977. That's 206-477-3977.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Hello, I'm Granville Emerson, and welcome back to Rainier Avenue Radio and Facebook Live. This is LidLine Sports with little Otis Stevenson, our expert on the NBA. Check him out on Hoop Narrative. You have University of Montana head coach coming on next.
Yeah, that'll be dropping this week. Definitely. It was great conversation with him, man. Good dude. Never met him before, but this is the first time. He's a good dude.
Okay. Travis DeCure, University of Montana head coach. And Renault Pepe Bean. Everything you need to know about the NFL, he knows it. Thank you all for tuning in on our podcast on all places where you can find podcasts. There is LidLine Sports. Thank you all for tuning in and watching on Facebook Live. I don't know why there is two strings. Rhonda Dorsey, Paul Schneiderman says Brady is great but corrupt too. Yeah.
Get that.
No denying.
And Michael Carter says, boo the NFL until they hire some black coaches. Pep, they say that there will be a black coach hired in H-Town down in Houston. They say it's supposed to be between Eric Bieniemy and is it Todd Bowles?
I haven't. The second name I haven't heard.
Okay. Well, I think it's Todd Bowles and Eric Bieniemy that are up for the head coaching job at Houston. Some say it's a ploy to keep the Houston quarterback there, Deshaun Watson, who is demanded to be traded. And so take us inside NFL Pep Talk for all the latest.
Okay, so based on that, what you're talking about, Deshaun Watson's already made it clear that he doesn't care who the coach is going to be down in Houston. He wants out. Okay, so we got another James Harden type situation where a player wants to be out of there, out of Houston. So it doesn't matter if it's Bieniemy or Todd Bowles or Jim Caldwell or whoever they hire, he wants out. So so Houston's going to have to do something as far as make a trade, make some deals to do something. Or if they do hire that coach, then that coach will have to sit down with Deshaun, face to, I don't know about face to face, but in a Zoom meeting or something, and let it all out. Ask him what he needs, what he wants, and tell him what you bring to the table in order to get him to stay. So I don't know. Now, as far as what's happening in the AFC, we just saw the Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Buffalo Bills 38-21, which was pretty much expected. And I'll tell you this, and this is for the people in Tampa right now. If the Kansas City Chiefs fall behind by 10 plus or more, you are in trouble. And I'm talking about Tampa. Because if you remember last year, Kansas City fell behind 24-0 at home to Houston. What happened? Kansas City outscored Houston 28-0 in the second quarter and had to lead by halftime and blew them out. And, in the Super Bowl, San Francisco had a nice lead in the fourth quarter. What happened? Kansas City scored 21 straight points, lights out. Yesterday was much the same. Buffalo went up 9-0. Next thing you know, Kansas City's up 21-9, lights out. If Kansas City falls behind at any point in the Super Bowl, just shake your head because you know what's coming. Kansas City has weapons galore, and they got a quarterback that can move. He could throw off at any kind of position. He's throwing underhanded. He's throwing underhand. He throws sidearm. Whatever you need, he can do it. So, Tampa's got a good D. They've been lights out, to be honest, but they give up points. And if you give up points to Kansas City, you're done because they can score more points than you. You might score 30, but they'll get 50. So, Tampa is going to have to put the screws in, and they're going to have to put in work early, and they're going to have to hold them down. Because San Francisco held Kansas City to 10 points last year up until the fourth quarter, remember? And then all of a sudden, all heck broke loose. So, you got to play the whole game to hold down Kansas City. And I don't know if any team can do it right now and how they're constructed. They got, of course, Tyreek Hill. They got Hardman. The guy fumbles and comes back and scores a touchdown and runs a nice long nice long run on end around. So they got guys that can forget their mistakes, and you need those kind of players. And then you got a guy like Mahomes who will go up, who's a leader, who goes up to a guy and say, "Listen, man, you fumbled, so what? We got you." So Kansas City is going to be tough, even though Tampa's at home, the first team ever in a Super Bowl to be on their home stadium. It's going to be a lot of work for them to beat Kansas City. And I know that Brady's the GOAT, and if anybody can do it, he can. But it's going to be real tough.
Question, Pep. How do you feel about the Buccaneers defense and the takeaways they've been getting over the last couple games? How do you feel like that could possibly turn this out?
That's you're gonna have to hold the ball, long drives, keep Mahomes off the field, and you're gonna have to get turnovers. Kansas City Mahomes doesn't turn the ball over that much. So if Tampa can turn him over, then you definitely and you got Brady coming behind you, definitely have a good chance.
Yeah, the X factor is Tyreek Hill. Can Tampa figure out a way? Can Todd Bowles figure out a way to stop Tyreek Hill? And the thing about Kansas City is their offense is so diverse. They come at you so many different ways that they're just hard to guard. You got the one of the best tight ends in the league in Kelsey, and you've got running backs in their backfield that are really good. And so I love the way that Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, the deal is the way it's set up is they're Eric Bieniemy's plays that Andy Reid calls.
Yes.
So that's kind of the way their system is ran. And I love the play design of Eric Bieniemy's plays. And they mix them up so well that it's just hard to defend it. So they come out with different formations. They run different types of action. It's just really diverse. And so can Tampa Bay slow them down? And if they can't, can Tom Brady keep up? So to me, those are the two questions that have to be answered in the Super Bowl. Now, Todd Bowles has 2 weeks to study them.
Yeah.
Because the Super Bowl is not till the first Sunday in February. And so he has 2 weeks to study them and try to put together a game plan. But at the same time, Kansas City's offense has 2 weeks to put together a game plan against Tampa's defense.
Yep. Works both ways.
Yeah. And so I don't, see Mahomes. Mahomes doesn't turn the ball over, Otis.
Uh-huh.
And so if he doesn't give Tampa takeaways like Green Bay did yesterday, I mean, Green Bay gave them 2 crucial takeaways that they scored 14 points on. So if that doesn't happen, where's Tampa's offense going to come from?
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel like if they don't generate turnovers, I just don't see the Buccaneers having a chance of beating this Kansas City Chiefs. I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa scored 3 points in the second half yesterday.
Exactly. And they were kind of almost the defense pretty much won the first playoff game. I can't think of who they played in, but I mean they put them in good field position half the game. So
yeah,
I think they had a defensive touchdown or got close. But like I said, I agree that they can't get any defensive turnovers in. I just don't see the chance.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to because, like you said, Mahomes doesn't turn the ball over, and Kansas City knows they got a run game. And they got an outstanding passing game. You have to keep up. That's the thing. And there's no offense right now in the National Football League that can. They might, you can slow them down for a little bit, but once they get it cranking, you can't stop them once they get it going. And that's a problem because Kansas City, it means nothing to them to fall behind big. Nothing, because they know they can come back within minutes. I mean, they proved it many, many times already. We've seen this movie before. So if Tampa gets out to a 17-0 lead, don't get all happy and start celebrating because that 17-point lead you could be down 35-17 the next quarter.
Yeah. Tampa Bay beat the New Orleans Saints 30-20.
Uh-huh.
And they did have a bunch of takeaways against Drew Brees. And so their defense put them in great field position most of the game against New Orleans. And so that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to create some big plays with the passing game or with their special teams or something. But I just don't see them unless they can slow down Mahomes. I just don't see it. And so we'll see. Especially if Brady is inaccurate like he was last night, especially in the second half. I mean, he had a couple guys open that he overthrew like badly, if you can recall. And so we'll see. What else you got, Pep?
That's pretty much it. Because we got the Super Bowl coming up, so we pretty much already made our picks. It's 2 weeks away, but I don't see anything that's going to change in the next 2 weeks.
What do you think about the situation with Matthew Stafford, where he said he wanted to be
very interesting.
They said, "Yeah, we're ready to trade you." What do you think about that situation?
Yeah, that's another situation where, a team like San Francisco, or Houston could use a Matthew Stafford. I've heard people say that Matthew Stafford is Aaron Rodgers without the division titles and whatnot. Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback for a very bad team. Matthew Stafford has led a lot of fourth quarter comebacks for that team. That guy can play some ball. So whoever gets him, if he gets on the right team, like I mentioned, San Francisco or a team like that has some kind of playoff consideration or contention,
I'm gonna tell you where he's gonna go.
He could really elevate them.
I'm gonna tell you where he's gonna go.
Where's he going?
Sure, of course. I'm just speculating. This is just all my opinion, folks. The Washington football team.
Yeah.
They've got all they need is a quarterback.
Yeah.
The same situation. They got a really good defense. He would be good for the Washington football team.
I think so too.
If I was him, go ahead, though.
I like it.
Yeah, I would rather go there than Houston, that's for sure. That dysfunctional place. He's already been in a lot of dysfunction. He's been in this dysfunctional city for a long time, for 12 years. He needs to go to someplace that is solidifying itself. Hired their first black general manager the other day.
Detroit does call itself the D.
Huh?
Detroit does call itself the D, and that stands for dysfunction.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Pep, thank you. On to Little O and back on this NBA beat, man. Let's go, O.
Yeah, so before we were talking about the James Harden trade, I wanted to ask you guys maybe about, the assets that other guys got. So I guess, we know that the main trade was to get James Harden to Brooklyn. Who do you guys see winning the trade between Houston, Indiana, and Cleveland? Jared Allen got moved to Cleveland. Karis LeVert got moved to Indiana, and then Houston got all the first-round picks, a first-round pick from the Pacers, and Victor Oladipo.
Winner.
Okay, right there. I would say I was a little confused about the player because I know they said that they wanted a young player come back with James Harden. And, I thought they got it in Karis LeVert, but then they shipped him to, like I said, Victor Oladipo, who is still a good player. And, yes, we know he is coming off of a knee injury. But he also only had –
Didn't he hit for 32 his first game?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he got going the first game. He also has only 1 year left on this deal. So it almost kind of looked like a win-win situation. If they can bring him back, cool. If they don't, they get salary cap. So who do you guys see winning?
Yep.
Well, like I said, I like the Rockets, and, you got a motivated Victor Oladipo, because like you said, he's on the last year of his contract. Plus, he's always hurt. That's the only drawback. The negative is he seems to always get hurt. He'll give you 20 good games, then he gets hurt, then he's out for 30. So, that's a problem. But he's going to have to work through that. If he can work through that and get you 20 to 25 a night, yeah, that's a winner right there. I love Karis LeVert. There's no question. But his situation is not much different. He always seems to get hurt, right? And we know he can play. Okay, that's obvious. But not doing anybody any good if you're always hurt. And now he's got this kidney thing. So we don't know how long he's going to be out. That's even more serious than some kind of leg injury. So he'll be out who knows how long. So, Indiana's just going to have to play through it. And right now they're struggling. So I'm going to say that Houston wins that trade. And I do like pick the Cleveland got. Jared Allen has really played well for them. Like I said, he tore up his own team. So and then who else did they get? I forget who else they got.
Oh man, from Baylor.
Yeah, but Houston with all those first round picks, plus Oladipo, huh?
Torian Prince.
Yeah. Well, he was killing the Nets too. It's like, do you not how do you not know who these guys are? You're playing against them in practice, and they're on your team. How do you know what they? Come on, it makes no sense to me. But yeah, so Houston to me, with all those first rounders plus Oladipo, yeah, come on, it's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you get a guy like Victor Oladipo and a bunch of draft picks, you won.
Yeah,
I feel like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. A bunch of draft picks, you won. I mean, so I feel like, Victor Oladipo, some dudes just need to change the scenery. You know what I mean? Maybe he needed to get out of that cold weather in Indianapolis and get that warm balm of Houston in his bones. I don't know. But we'll see. But I like him in Houston, and I like him in the backcourt with John Wall. And so to go, like I said, to go along with Boogie and the other guys down there, Eric
Gordon. He's balling too.
Yeah, and them. I think that Houston is up and coming with their rookie coach. So we'll see what becomes of all of that. But I'll go with Houston.
Yeah, and speaking of Houston, some other news. Houston traded a lowly small price of a second-round pick for Seattle's own Kevin Porter Jr., who did not take the floor pretty much all season due to some off-the-court issues. There was rumors going into the NBA season that the front office of the Cleveland Cavaliers were getting a little bit uneasy and frustrated with the maturation of Kevin Porter Jr. And then after the trade had all happened, you started to hear that he was actually finally coming to watch games. And he was let back in the locker room, and he's seen that his locker room was moved and was taken over by Taurean Prince. And I guess it let him off, and he let a couple of officials hear it, and that was pretty much the last straw for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he's going to the Houston Rockets, just like you guys said, a new face, a new scenery for him. But even more important, he's going to link up with assistant coach John Lucas, who is known for players who have had trouble off the court and being a mentor to them and helping them change around, just helping them even off the court in life and all that. So I think that was a big advocate of the Houston Rockets going to get Kevin Porter because they have the mentor for him. And I hope, man, just him being a Seattle native, and he has all the talent in the world. I do hope that he's able to turn it around. What was that, Pep?
Yeah, I agree with you totally. And I want nothing but the best for him. And I think what Cleveland did was pretty calculated because if you got a maturity issue, you already know that if you're going to change or move his locker without letting him know, he ain't going to be happy. And what's going to happen? He's going to blow up.
And you already used the pick knowing that these were some issues. So I don't know. It seems a little impatient to me.
Yeah.
So, somebody put out the word that he needed to go to the Houston Rockets. And so I feel like John Lucas probably said, yeah, get that kid and bring him in here.
Right.
So it just seems to me ironic that there was talk about him going to Houston because they had John Lucas, and then now he's in Houston. And so hopefully that will be what needs to happen to get him back on the right track because he's a great talent. And like I said, I've only known him to be a good kid, so I don't know all this other stuff that's going on with him. So I'd love to see him turn it around. Speaking of turning it around, University of Washington Huskies won 2 games in a row.
Yes, they have. And one was against a really good Colorado team. So, I mean, yeah. And I talked to on Hoop Narrative talking to Travis DeCure a little bit about the season. He spoke a little bit on UW and how it's kind of just frustrating to lose 2 first round picks and then have to come into a season where you didn't have any time to practice. You're in and out of the gym for weeks at a time, and then you have to come on the court and bring this product of guys that, weren't able to gel together. And I guess you're now starting to see them, and then they lose the best player. But now you're starting to see them, kind of turn that corner and they're starting to gel a little bit.
Yeah, well, there's no surprise. Like I said, when they lost to Cal and they were in a freaking zone with the score tied and 55 seconds left to go in the game. And now if you watch him play, I've watched him play both against Colorado and Utah. They've come out of the zone at times and played man-to-man, and they played man-to-man down the stretch in both of those close games, and they've won, right? I mean, that's what – they've got a bunch of dudes that can play, right? And so you're not doing them any favors by having them sit around in a zone instead of getting up and down the floor, which those dudes can do. I mean, you got Sahonis has scored like 26. Jamal Bay scored 28 or something yesterday.
28.
Eric Stevenson has scored in the high 20s. You got dudes that can ball. I mean, but you gotta let them go, and you gotta get them. So the thing about playing, there's no energy in playing a zone, right? And so you got to get them energized by playing man-to-man defense, being able to create turnovers, be able to get out and run the floor and all of that. And the last two games I've saw them do that. I mean, in the Colorado game, they won because the score was tied, and then they went man-to-man, and Colorado turned the ball over like 4 times in a row. And then yesterday, the same thing. Utah was winning the whole game. The whole game. And except for the last 2 minutes, they played man-to-man, and Utah couldn't figure out what they were doing. They lost. So kudos to the Washington staff for finally figuring out and making an adjustment and getting 2 wins. And so now that other teams understand what you're doing now, let's see how long you can maintain that and still get some W's. In the W column.
They actually turned around that UCLA game because they got blown out at USC, and then 2 days later they went to UCLA and gave them all kind of hell. So that was the start of them turning it up and playing a lot better. And then it turned into a win versus Colorado and Utah last 2. So that's good.
Remember I said this, and I get what Coach DeCure is saying, but coaches stick up for each other. So I get on that. And so, but I said this before, that when he was trying to figure out his lineup, like I didn't understand that because he had dudes in his program that had been in his program, like Jamal Bay and like Nate Roberts and Riley Sorn, dudes that have been there, and those were the dudes that he needed to start playing with from the get-go, right? But he was trying to mix in all these new dudes. Those are the dudes that he needed to lean on from the get-go, and Sahonis has been there and let them play, right? And the other new dudes kind of worked them in to the rotation. And so I don't know if he's finally figured out a rotation, but it's close. We got to go. You two have been great tonight. Thank you. Pep, and thank you, Lil O. Thank all of y'all for listening and watching LidLine Sports. LidLine Sports, sports as we see it from just Lord.
I go to work like a doctor. When I rock the mic, you got to like the way I operate. I make miracles happen.
Yeah, get that vaccine.